I have to say the recycling programs here in the Southcoast appear to be very successful. It started with Dartmouth, some of the smaller towns, moved to the cities. The end result, people are complying pretty much, especially in a couple of areas where we're most familiar, the town of Dartmouth, the city of New Bedford. Those are the two communities that contribute to the Crapo Hill landfill. And the bottom line is recycling is saving valuable space every year at the Crapo Hill landfill in Dartmouth. Here to talk about all of that and more is Marissa Perez Dormitzer, the Regional Refuse District's Recycling Coordinator. And she is joined by Chris Sherman, the District Account Manager for a company called ShredIt. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Before we talk about recycling events with Marissa, we should discuss the paper shredding event that's happening later this month on September 16th. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. We've had shredding days before in New Bedford, looking to generate a little more activity, I presume, this time. When and where is it going to be held? Chris, why don't we start with you?
The event itself is going to be held on a Saturday. That's September 16th. And the hours of the event to take place would be
9 to noon.
9 to noon, thank you very much. And the exact location
Is the parking lot by City Hall. So it's you would enter on William Street, and it's just across from City Hall.
And there's been some events like this before. What are the key facts, Chris, that people should know? They've got a few boxes of paper that they've accumulated over a few years, perhaps, either in business or in their home business, their personal business. And they say to themselves, what am I going to do with this paper?
Right.
What can they do?
Well, first of all, ShredIt's very proud to be taking part in this event on Saturday. It's a great event. It's great for the community. For individuals at home, I believe we're probably all of the same nature where we like to save paper, And I kind of go with the basic rule of thumb is if it has your name, your address, any type of financial information, then that's information that you don't want to really hold on to, but you want a secured method of disposing and destroying that type of information. Okay,
and ShredIt basically does have a way to do that. Say I've got 5 boxes. I go to this event. Tell me about the cost, what happens, all of that.
Sure. So the residents are encouraged to bring that material in boxes to the event. ShredIt will have a on-site shredding truck where you'll be able to bring your box up to the truck. ShredIt personnel will take the box itself, put it into the hopper of where the shred truck is, and the residents are then can actually view their documents being shredded on site. So it'll, at the end of it, they'll be able to view it. It'll give them peace of mind, and then on the back end, all of that shredded information is then recycled.
Is there a cost?
There is a cost, and that cost is
$5 per box.
And
it's a regular-sized box.
Yeah, I'd like to visually, if you can kind of think about like a most common box that everyone thinks of is maybe like a copy paper size box, so a box of that size.
Okay. And there is a cost of $5 per box. Do I have to take the staples out?
No, this is the great thing about technology today is, if your documents have staples, paper clips, binder clips, elastics, you don't have to take the tedious time of trying to remove that. It's all goes into the shredder, and it's all shredded. Obviously no 3-ring binders, things of of metal and glass nature, things like that. So strictly paper, but you don't have to labor through removing paper clips, staples, elastics, things like that.
Why should people care about shredding, Marissa, rather than, what the next thing is? If you're not going to shred it, you want to get rid of it, you either just throw it in your paper bin, that gets recycled, or just throwing it in the trash, which is something we kind of frown on. But why should people shred this stuff?
Sure. So there are many reasons to shred paper. One thing I do want to point out is that folks are in the habit of doing some shredding at home, and we've been finding more and more that at the recycling facilities, they're not really thrilled with getting the shredded paper. So we have been instructing residents to place shredded paper in a clear plastic bag in their recycling cart. And they're finding that that paper can just get spread all over the recycling facility. It can get stuck to the glass. So these paper shredding days are really the best opportunity to find a home for those documents that you don't want anyone getting their hands on, like your old tax form or bank statements. And so it's a great secure option for those documents.
All right, suppose I've got several boxes, then it's $5 a box, but you don't do my 5 boxes all at once, do you?
Well, there's, the event is...
I'm carrying a box, my
right.
wife's carrying a box, little Jimmy's carrying a box.
Right.
And, Christy's carrying a box. You do those all at once?
Right. So they'll be all contained into the same, what I'll refer to as like a hopper, where all the documents are kind of put in as the full pieces of paper. So it shreds a very good amount of paper, at one time. So it's we always say, what you can carry, what you can bring is what you can shred.
Okay.
The event does get bigger and bigger every year. It's exciting to look at the folks and speak with the folks about, identity theft and things like that.
Sure. I'm sure there are businesses that are there with a large amount of paper, and then there's the personal home of paper as well. I mean, we see it all.
Exactly. We get a wide range. And I will add that if we do have a business, or occasionally we do have a city or a town bring multiple boxes, and maybe they have 10 boxes or even more. And so we actually encourage them to have it shredded off-site, because obviously we don't want everyone to have to wait for a really long time. So usually we set a limit that people who are participating can watch up to 3 or 4 boxes be shredded. But if they have more than that, we encourage them to put them in a separate truck where they're shredded off-site. And as I've understood it, that if they're shredded off-site, often they can actually be shredded into even smaller pieces. Is that correct?
The technology is kind of universal, where it's, the shred sizes, things like that are consistent throughout. But, I think to your point is the event is open to we'd like to see as many people as possible within that time frame, and in order for everybody to enjoy it and to participate, it's really if we can kind of limit it so everyone can kind of share it, it becomes a great event.
All right, Marissa, one more time on the time and the place for the ShredIt Day, if you would.
So Paper Shred Day will be taking place on September 16th from 9 to noon, and it will be taking place in the parking lot opposite New Bedford City Hall. And I'll point out that anyone is welcome to participate. Last year, there was someone from Providence who came to our local paper shredding day. Yeah. And so there is no limit on the residency, so anyone is welcome to take part. And you would enter on William Street, so best to go down William Street and then take a left into the parking lot, and then we help organize the cars from there.
And how many times do you do this a year?
We hold this event twice a year, in the spring and the fall. We have been talking about trying to make it an even bigger event, and in light of the new knowledge that we have that sending that shredded paper to the recycling facilities, that it's not a good idea, we may try, indeed, to make these events larger and perhaps even more frequent.
You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guests are Marissa Perez Dormitzer, and she is the recycling coordinator for the Regional Refuse District, and also Chris Sherman, and he is the business manager. I got the title wrong. We don't want to do that. Chris Sherman is the district account manager for a company called ShredIt. Where are you based, Chris?
Well, ShredIt's a international company. In this particular area, there's a plant that's located in Sharon, Massachusetts, where it services this area down here, as well as Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
All right, Marissa, what other recycling events are coming up?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. So the next week, so we have Paper Shredding Day on September 16th, but on the next Saturday, which is September 23rd, we'll be holding Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day. And so that's held twice a year. So it's a great opportunity to clean out your various hazardous waste that you have in your garage or your shed, such as oil-based paint, pesticides, stains, waste fuels. We get some of that, like old gas. So all of those items can be brought to the Crapo Hill landfill, which is in the far north end of the city. You would get there by going through the business park. And so we try to set up a lot of helpful signs because most people don't end up going up that far. And so we put up lawn signs to direct residents who are going there. And that is for residents of New Bedford and Dartmouth only.
What about batteries?
Right, so batteries would not be brought to Hazardous Waste Day. Batteries are interesting. So the typical household batteries, which are called alkaline batteries, those do not need any special disposal. And so those can be placed in the trash. They used to be made with a lot of heavy metals, but over time that's been reduced. So the batteries of concern are actually rechargeable batteries and button batteries. So like a NiCad battery, it has nickel and cadmium in it. And so those can be brought to the transfer station. So in New Bedford, there's the city transfer station on Shawmut Avenue, 1103 Shawmut Avenue. And then in Dartmouth, they can be brought to their transfer station as well, which is 976 Russell's Mills Road.
How about hearing aid batteries?
As far as I know, hearing aid batteries should be recycled as well. My knowledge is that those button batteries do contain different metals that should not be thrown in the landfill. And so those, again, could be brought to the transfer stations. And so we don't want those items at the Hazardous Waste Day, and we often do see different odd items that shouldn't be brought there. So no batteries, no fluorescent lamps, no propane tanks. Those all have another home. And so they don't need to be brought to hazardous waste because people are driving up there. And for some people, it can be a half-hour drive to get up to the event. And so we definitely don't want to waste anyone's time. So no, fluorescent lamps don't belong at Hazardous Waste Day. Also, latex paint. That's a very common item that people bring to Hazardous Waste Day that is not hazardous. It is water-based paint, and so it should just be dried out. You can add some sand or cat litter, and then it goes in the regular trash.
But regular batteries, AA, single A's, AAA, all of that is trash and can be tossed with the trash.
Correct. As long as they're not rechargeable, because there are batteries that look like AA and AAA are the same size and shape, but they're rechargeable as opposed to being the alkaline single-use batteries. So it's good to check. You know, when we're not sure, we'll read the label to see if it's rechargeable or if it's an alkaline one-time use battery.
All right. So that's it on the latest events. Are you surprised, Marissa, by the compliance for recycling in New Bedford? Because cities is never quite as good as surrounding towns, or at least that's the myth, that cities never quite as good with compliance as compared to surrounding towns. So how is the compliance in New Bedford? And is that a myth, what I just said?
It is a myth. Mm-hmm. So we've been very fortunate to receive funding assistance from the state for a program that we're calling the IQ Kit. It's through a nationwide organization called the Recycling Partnership, where they've come up with a program to reduce contamination in the recycling carts. So it's to reduce the amount of things that just don't belong in the recycling carts. And so we've been spending a lot of time looking in the recycling carts, and we find that in both New Bedford and Dartmouth, there are things that don't belong there. Overall, over time, things have been improving. We've been doing a lot of outreach and education in New Bedford, and there are many times we look in recycling carts and we're very happy to see they're perfect, nothing wrong at all. But the most common thing that we see in there that doesn't belong is plastic bags and plastic wrap. And so we're really trying hard to get that word out that grocery bags, the case wrap around a multi-pack of water bottles, all those items do not belong in the recycling cart. They get wrapped around the machines and cause problems, so they don't belong in there.
Shredding Day, 9 a.m., September 16th, the City Hall parking lot. Come down William Street with your boxes, $5 a box. Hope to see you at Shredding Day. My thanks to Marissa and Chris for coming in to talk about recycling and variations of that. Thanks to you both.
Thank you,
very
Jim.
much.
That wraps up this week's program. My thanks to WBSM production assistant, Brian Rose for getting this program on the air, and digital producer Casey Sylvia for posting each segment on our website, WBSM.com. Join us next Sunday at 6 for Townsquare Sunday. Until then, have a wonderful week and a great Sunday.